teacher and friend Kathleen Driskell. Kathleen Driskell's second book of poems, Seed Across Snow, was published by Red Hand Press in 2009, and it has been listed as a bestseller by the Poetry Foundation. She has published a full-length book of poems, Laughing Sickness, that was published by Fleur de Lis in 1999, and it's currently in its second printing. Kathleen has published in magazines such as the Southern Review, the American Voice, New Millennium Writings, the Greensboro Review, and others. She is the associate editor of the Louisville Review and has taught creative writing and literature at Spalding University, the University of Louisville, Allen College, the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, as well as for many writers' conferences and workshops. She serves as an associate director of the Spalding MFA program in Louisville. Please help me welcome Kathleen Driskell.
Thank you, Katerina. It's really great to be here and to help Katerina celebrate her show, her wonderful show, and her new book, which is fantastic, I know, because I got to read it in manuscript. And I was really thrilled to be a guest of Katerina's pretty early on, I think, in Accents. And she brought me into the little studio there, and we sort of climbed over the furniture. If you all have been there, you know what I'm talking about. And we sat down, and we basically just flirted with each other over the air for about an hour. So that was really fun. I'm going to read a poem from the new Kentucky issue that honors Maureen Moorhead, who's our poet laureate. It just came out, and Richard Taylor was the poetry editor for this. This is a poem called American Bison. The operator thinks I'm nuts when I ring 911 to report them grazing in my suburban backyard. She's musing about which agency to call. I hear her flipping through pages, says she has to check with her supervisor, says she'll phone me back in a few. The he-bison, taller than my old Volvo, looks as if he's not going anywhere. He's shaggy and obtuse, a dull fellow methodically chewing a sprig torn from my azalea bush, my blossoms grinding into a foamy pink slather between his teeth, enormous, flat, yellow. If I had a good arm, I could toss a ring and hoop his rough horn from my window, but he doesn't even turn to look when I crank it open and yell, "Shoo! Shoo! Buffalo! You go shoo!" He's oblivious. He's king, after all. But my shouting has given the poor she-bison a start. Nervous Nellie, she jumps to the side in 3 dainty hops. When she stops, she turns rigid as the already taxidermied, perfectly poised as if on display upon my clipped lawn. She merely needs a price tag clipped to her silly little ear. Her only movement, panic nickering around the edge of her eyes. Then her face slackens, her shoulders lose their tension, her nubby horns droop. It's as if she's just then realized, and in that instant regretted, how placidly she followed him through the farmer's jolly green field and through the broken fence. Big, dumb bull, his eyes now drugged with chewing pleasure. Then her face seems to turn to disgust. And I wonder if she sees what I see from his wet, sloppy snout. Great strands of snot blow loopily through the warm spring air like a wild trapeze. The she-bison in my yard with her indolent fellow, quieter now, as she sees her choices more clearly. Either this or back to the bison farm, a 20-mile trot down Highway 60. She's hesitant, hedging, mulling it all over when I receive the call that tells me to watch for the truck, the warden, the anesthetizing dart. Thanks. I'm going to read a couple of poems from this anthology called What Comes Down to Us that Jeff Worley edited. I was lucky enough to be in there. I'm going to read a poem that I read on Accents, I think. This is called Why I Mother You the Way I Do. And this, I'd like to read this book, this poem, excuse me. I feel like it's sort of the heart of my book, Seed Across Snow, and Seed Across Snow, yes. I forgot the name of my own book. And it's about something that happened to me when I was a teenager, and I think it's probably why I'm a writer now. Why I Mother You the Way I Do. That afternoon, I have to admit, there were no thoughts of you. I was in high school, making my way past the buses to a waiting car, a boy who would not be your father. When the line of traffic stopped, the girls, classmates, sisters, had darted between buses and into the highway, trying to cross the field to their home. They both lay twisted in the road. My science teacher, Mr. DeSaro, took off his suit coat and laid it over Susan's face. He was crying because he only had one coat. By the time they let us pass, Eve had been covered with a white sheet. The ambulances had come, red lights flashed, but their mother was still pushing her silver cart through the grocery. The sheriff was walking up behind her. As she reached for a gallon of milk, he moved to touch her arm. And then this is called With a Shiner, My Husband Enters the Flower Shop. I should be thinking about him and how he could have lost an eye when the malignant scaffolding collapsed and a 2x4 dropped through the air on the job site the morning of our 19th anniversary. But I'm considering her, the florist, looking up from her table to see him walking in, sheepish, head bowed, ringing the bell as he enters. I'm wondering about how many times she's arranged roses for the wounded, the bruised, the stitched, hungry male who needs her help and fast. I wonder if she imagines me, black cast iron skillet, cocked in hand like a baseball bat, as she pulls out 3 stems of delphinium, blue as a bruised heart, and 2 full hydrangea, pink-petaled and soft as boxed lingerie. There is not baby's breath, I'm relieved to see, nor the red lips of soft roses, nor the ubiquitous and overly cheerful mom. She knows, somehow, what he does not, preoccupied with his day-to-day, that even a good long marriage holds small hurts that barb and fester near the skin. So she reaches for the balm of calm sweep of palm leaf, that healer of the unsaid argument of morning, the rising blood as I watched him back out in his truck, his having forgotten, once again, this morning of all mornings, to hang up the towel, curled like a wet dog asleep on the bathroom floor. A long marriage remembers its youth as a roan, muscled horse, rearing with nostrils flaring. I accept this bouquet for what I could have said but didn't, and hold on to the thin healing. I accept, too, finally, that often a long marriage is a donkey schlepping across the desert. Tender-eyed, I attempt to once again relove husband as self, to heal the wounded eye as one tries to heal self, and accept the vase on the table which stands to remind, each day as I change its water, that even this good marriage is from time to time a sorry animal, in need and overburdened, but grateful for the hard day it's about to close sore eyes against. Thank you. And then I will close with a really new poem in honor of National Poetry Month. And this is called Love Poetry. When Dante Gabriel Rossetti presented his manuscript, a culling of his best love poems, to his beloved wife, placing the sheath of loose, crackling papers on her breast as she lay unmoved and hardening in her casket. His tears loosened the ink of the words love and pain, an icy crystal cup. 7 years later, an itch, full of regret, sorry he had not made copies of the originals. He paid to have her dug back up. The men with shovels were amazed. They were not asked to retrieve a family emerald or ruby, but instead were requested to bring the papers back. Rossetti stood by the window and watched for the men's return. It was raining in London, the skies gray, but it was a good day for all who were parted, for life goes on, and so must art. Thank you.
Thanks.